Is Liam Rosenior running Chelsea like a youth project while fans demand trophies? Let us be honest with each other for a second. When you spend over £1 billion building a football club, the last thing you expect to hear from your manager is that finishing in the top four is not the priority, but that is exactly what Liam Rosenior said, and the Chelsea fan base is understandably not happy about it. This blog is going to break down everything that is happening at Stamford Bridge right now, from Rosenior's comments that have left many fans scratching their heads, to a defensive unit that has been an absolute disaster this season, to the terrifying news that Real Madrid might be coming for two of Chelsea's most important players. If you care about Chelsea, this is a read you cannot skip. Grab a seat. There is a lot to talk about. Rosenior Said, what now? Let us start at the beginning. In a recent statement that quickly spread across social media, Liam Rosenior made it very clear where his head is at. He said top four is not the priority right now. He talked about building long-term structure, identity, and consistency. He said the focus is on developing a team that can dominate for years, not just finish in the top four once or chase short-term positions. Now, in a vacuum, that is not a terrible thing to say. Building foundations matters. Developing young players matters. Having a clear identity matters. But here's the problem. This is Chelsea Football Club. This is not a newly promoted side. This is not a club rebuilding from administration. This is a club that has spent enormous amounts of money on players, on wages, on transfers, on infrastructure, and the fans who have watched their money go out the door season after season have every right to ask one simple question. When exactly does winning become the priority? Think about it from a fan's perspective. You have been watching your club splash out on player after player. You have seen managers come and go. You have sat through bad nights in the Champions League. You have watched your team get booed by their own supporters. And now the manager is standing in front of cameras telling you that the top four is not even something he is chasing. Can you really blame Chelsea fans for being frustrated? Rosenior took charge in January, so it is only fair to give him some time. He did not create all of these problems. Many of them were handed to him the moment he walked through the door. And to be fair, there are signs of progress under him, especially with younger players getting more opportunities. But the way he framed those comments felt tone deaf at a club where the expectation level is always sky high. The question Chelsea fans need to ask is this. Is Rosenior being honest and realistic, or is he simply lowering expectations because he knows this season cannot be saved? The defense has been an absolute disaster. Now let us talk about the part of the team that has caused the most damage this season, the Chelsea defense. If you watched Chelsea go out of the Champions League 8-2 on aggregate, you already know what we are dealing with. 8 goals conceded over 2 legs. That is not just a bad result. That is a systemic failure. And when you look at the individual player ratings coming out of Stamford Bridge, the picture becomes even clearer. Let us go through them one by one. Starting with the good news. Reece James has been rated 9 out of 10 this season, and honestly that feels right. For the first time in 3 years, he has managed to stay fit and play regularly. He has racked up 36 appearances already this season, which is more than he managed in any of the previous 3 campaigns combined. Whether he is playing as a right back or pushing into central midfield, James leads by example. He is the captain, and when he plays, Chelsea look like a different team. But here is the sad part. Even James is currently injured and missing from the squad, so even the one player who deserved full marks is not available right now. Marc Cucurella has been solid too, rated 7 out of 10. He has become one of the most experienced players at the club, which is a strange thing to say about a left back who is still in his mid-20s. The concern with Cucurella is that he is playing too many games. Club and country, he barely gets a break. That kind of workload eventually catches up with players, and Chelsea cannot afford to lose him. Jorel Hato has also been rated 7 out of 10. He came in as a summer signing and had a shaky start, but he has grown into the role under Rosenior. He can play center back or left back, and he is showing promise. In a summer where Chelsea did not get a lot of their recruitment right, Hato looks like one of the smart decisions. Now let us get to the bad news. Wesley Fofana has been rated 3 out of 10. 3. That is the lowest rating on the list, and for a player who cost Chelsea an absolutely enormous transfer fee a few years ago, it is a damning verdict. Fofana has stayed fit for most of this season, which was always the big concern with him, but his performances have been nowhere near good enough. His effort levels when it comes to tracking back and making recoveries have been heavily criticized. There are genuine questions about whether he should even be starting in the remaining Premier League games. Fans commenting on the rating article brought up an interesting point. One supporter suggested that Fofana might be carrying an injury that nobody knows about because the drop in performance has been so dramatic. Others are simply calling for him to be dropped. Either way, something is very wrong. Trevoh Chalobah has been rated 5 out of 10. And here is the alarming thing. That makes him one of the better center backs at the club this season. Let that sink in for a moment. The player who has probably been the most reliable at center back this year has only been given a 5 out of 10. Every manager who comes through Chelsea seems to trust Chalobah, which tells you he is doing something right behind the scenes. But even with praise from Rosenior, reports say Chelsea are still open to selling him at the end of the season. Mamadou Sarr joined in January and has been thrown straight into the deep end. He has started against Arsenal in the league and PSG in the Champions League. That is not an easy introduction to English football. He has been rated 5 out of 10, which feels fair given the circumstances. There is potential there, but he has not had the best situation to develop in. Benoit Badiashile has been rated 4 out of 10. Injuries have wrecked his time at Chelsea once again. He has only made 8 Premier League appearances this season, and even though he has reportedly been fit since November, he has barely featured. Chelsea fans have mostly lost patience with him at this point. Tosin Adarabioyo has also been rated 4 out of 10. He is described as the most experienced outfield player at the club, which again says a lot about how young this squad is. But being experienced does not mean you are performing well. Tosin was actually booed by the home supporters when he came on as a substitute against PSG. Being booed by your own fans is never a good sign, and it looks like his future at Chelsea is uncertain too. Malo Gusto and Josh Achiampong have both been rated 6 out of 10. Gusto finally scored his first competitive goal for Chelsea this season, and he has played plenty of minutes when James has moved into midfield. Achiampong is rated harshly according to the article, mostly because he has not been given enough opportunities. He is a young player with real potential, but he keeps being saved for cup games rather than being trusted in the league. And with big clubs reportedly watching him, Chelsea need to figure out his future quickly. So when you look at that defense as a whole, what do you see? A right back who is injured, a left back who is overplayed, a young January signing thrown into impossible situations, a very expensive player rated 3 out of 10, 2 players on 4 out of 10 who might not even be at the club next season, and a guy on 5 out of 10 who is somehow the standout center back of the lot. That is not a Premier League top 4 defense. That is not even a mid-table defense on paper, and that is why the Champions League exit felt so inevitable when it came. Enzo and Caicedo linked to Real Madrid. Now we get to the part of the story that should worry every Chelsea fan the most. On top of all the defensive problems, on top of Rosenior's comments about not chasing top 4, on top of the 8-2 Champions League exit, Chelsea are now facing reports that Real Madrid are interested in 2 of their most important midfielders, Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. Cavesol Hecol, who is well known for being plugged into the transfer market, said on air that Enzo Fernandez's head has been turned just a little bit by the Real Madrid interest. That is a very specific and concerning thing to say. Sol Hecol is not a journalist who throws out random quotes without some kind of basis. If he is saying Enzo's head has been turned, there is probably something to it. Now let us think about what losing these 2 players would mean. Moises Caicedo cost Chelsea around £115 million. He is one of the most important defensive midfielders in the Premier League. His energy, his pressing, his ability to break up play and keep things simple is central to how Chelsea function in the middle of the park. Losing him would be a massive blow, not just financially, but tactically. Replacing a player like Caicedo at that level is not easy, and it is not cheap. Enzo Fernandez was also a record signing. He has had some inconsistency this season, but when he is at his best, he is one of the most creative players in the squad. His vision and his ability to pick a pass in tight spaces give Chelsea something that most of their squad cannot provide. Real Madrid coming for both of them at the same time is a nightmare scenario, and here is the bigger issue. If a player at Chelsea looks at what is happening right now, with the manager saying top 4 is not the priority, with the Champions League exit, with the uncertainty around the coaching setup and the direction of the club, why would they want to stay? Real Madrid are offering Champions League football, a history of winning trophies, and the biggest stage in world football. Chelsea right now are offering a project, a long-term plan, future success, maybe. You can see why a player's head might turn. The question Chelsea's ownership and leadership need to answer urgently is this: how do you keep your best players when you cannot offer them what they came to the club to win? What actually needs to change? So after everything we have talked about, where does this leave Chelsea? The problems are obvious. The defense is not good enough. The direction from the manager is confusing a lot of fans. 2 of the best midfielders might be looking for the exit. And there are still 7 Premier League games left this season that could define where Chelsea end up in the table. But there are also reasons to believe things can improve if the right decisions are made. Reece James coming back from injury will help. He makes such a difference to how Chelsea play. Having him available and fit is something the club cannot take for granted given his injury history, so when he returns, Rosenior needs to find a way to manage his minutes while also getting the best out of him. The young players in the squad need proper game time. Josh Achiampong in particular should not be saved for cup games. If he is good enough to attract interest from big clubs across Europe, he is good enough to start regularly for Chelsea. The same goes for Mamadou Sarr and Jorel Hado. These are players with real upside, but they need consistent minutes to grow. The defensive rebuild in the summer needs to be a priority. Fofana at 3 out of 10 cannot be the answer long term. Badiashile cannot stay if he keeps picking up injuries. Tosin is being booed by the home fans. Chelsea need at least 1, probably 2, top quality center backs who can come in and immediately improve the backline, not young prospects who need time, players who are ready right now. And on the Enzo and Caicedo situation, Chelsea need to act fast. If there is any truth to the Real Madrid interest, getting both of those players tied down on new contracts should be at the top of the agenda. Losing one of them would be damaging. Losing both in the same window would be close to catastrophic for the project that Rosenior keeps talking about. The bottom line here is the honest truth about where Chelsea are right now. They have a manager who is asking for patience. They have a defense that has cost them games and their place in Europe. They have two world-class midfielders who might be looking at the exit, and they have an ownership group that has spent an enormous amount of money and is still waiting for it all to come together. Chelsea fans are not unreasonable people. They understand that building something takes time. They saw it work at Manchester City. They have seen it work at other clubs. But patience runs out when you are watching defensive howlers in the Champions League, when your captain is hurt, when your best players are linked with rivals, and when your manager is telling you that top four is not the goal. The next few months are going to tell us a lot about the direction of this football club. The summer transfer window could either be the start of something genuinely exciting or another round of expensive mistakes. The contract situations around Caicedo and Enzo need to be resolved. The defensive rebuild has to happen. And most importantly, someone at Chelsea needs to decide what this project actually looks like. Because right now, from the outside, it looks a lot like confusion. The fans deserve better. The players who are performing deserve better. And a club with the history and resources of Chelsea should be doing better. What do you think? Is Rosenior the right man to lead this club forward, or is the damage already done? Should Chelsea be prioritizing the top four, or does the long-term project make sense to you? And if Real Madrid come in with big money for Caicedo or Enzo, what do you do? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is exactly the kind of conversation the Chelsea community needs to be having right now.